Oh yeah. Let me show you guys how to recreate and maybe even improve Crumbl Cookie's Oreo cookie. So before we actually make the cookie, let's dissect it and figure out what they're doing good. As you can see, it literally looks like an Oreo, which probably means it's coated in Oreos and the actual cookie dough has a lot of Oreos in it. You can also see the frosting set very nicely, which probably indicates that there's some corn syrup or inverted sugar inside the batter. And now if you look at the middle, you can see it's really dense in the middle. There's not much air, there's not much fluffiness. So we don't probably need that much baking soda. Official taste test. This is really good. The texture of the cookie is actually really dense. It almost does taste like raw cookie dough, and it's really chocolatey. And the frosting, I'm pretty sure it's a cream cheese frosting, and the tartness of the frosting plays really well with the cookie. All right, we're gonna start off with some basic prep work. Of course, we can't have an Oreo Crumbl cookie without some Oreos. And we're gonna start splitting the Oreos just like this. We're gonna place the clean side in a Ziploc bag, and you're gonna scrape out all the cream into a bowl. And to stop when you have around 75 grams of just the Oreo biscuits. And using a rolling pin, you just wanna crush these up, but you don't wanna get them too fine. You wanna be able to taste the chunks of Oreo. And you wanna finish crushing when you get a nice crumbly texture. Now let's make the actual cookie. Into a large bowl, I'm gonna add 65 grams of unsalted melted butter. And into the butter, add around 110 grams of sugar. Add in around 5 grams of molasses. You don't wanna add too much molasses because it is really strong. And you just wanna beat this for around 2 minutes until it gets really nice and creamy. 1 egg, and you just wanna beat this for another minute. Into this, add a teaspoon of vanilla, add a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 tablespoon cornstarch. This will help get the cookie nice and crumbly. 85 grams of all-purpose flour, 20 grams of cocoa powder, 2 ounces of melted chocolate. Make sure it isn't too hot and make sure the chocolate isn't too sweet. And we're gonna add 75 grams of crushed up Oreos. And you just wanna blend this again until it's really thick and creamy. And you should get a really thick viscous dough, just like that. I got a half sheet tray here because I'm just gonna be making 2 big cookies. And to this, I'm just gonna give it a quick spray, just so that the parchment paper can stick. If you don't give this a spray before, the parchment is just gonna fly everywhere. Give your hands a quick spray. And these are big cookies. For each cookie, I want around 1/2 cup to 2/3 of a cup of batter. Use your hands to just mold it into a light ball, and using your hands to shape it into a thin disc. Put the rest of the Oreo mixture onto a light plate, and we're gonna take each disc of the cookie and completely cover it in Oreo crumbs. You wanna make sure you don't flatten it too much, so maintain the shape, and you wanna cover all edges. Dap off any excess, and place it right back onto the baking sheet. And we're gonna bake these at 300 degrees convection or around 360 degrees regular for around 10 to 12 minutes or until they nicely spread out. Let's make a quick frosting, and I'm pretty sure on top of that Oreo Crumbl cookie itself was a nice cream cheese frosting. In a large bowl, I got 4 ounces of butter, and into that I'm gonna add 4 ounces of softened cream cheese, and into this I'm also gonna add all the cream from the Oreos earlier. And remember how when we analyzed the cookie, there was a thin sheet around the frosting that made it really stand up? You only get that from corn syrup, so I'm gonna add around a teaspoon of corn syrup into this as well. You need some kind of inverted sugar inside this mixture so that it stays firm for longer. Give this a quick mix around before you add any sugar just to get all the mixtures combined. And slowly into this, I'm gonna add in 150 grams of powdered sugar. If you add it in all at once, it's just gonna explode everywhere, so I like to go 50 grams at a time. And after you get all the sugar mixed in, you're gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Official taste test. He approves.
What do you have to say for yourself?
This is probably the hardest part of the entire recipe, knowing when to pull these out. As you can see, the cookies are actually really soft right now. If I lightly press on the top, it'll almost feel raw. But this is exactly what you want. Don't touch these cookies right now. Let these cookies cool on the baking sheet until they're completely set. They might seem soft right now, but I can guarantee you after an hour, they're gonna be perfectly firm. Same thing with the frosting. I kept it in the fridge for a few hours and now it's nicely thickened up. Grab your nearest assistant and start filling all this frosting into the piping bag. Or in this case, just a Ziploc bag. Carefully push all the frosting into a corner, and if you're using pretty thin Ziploc bags, I suggest you double layer. Once you got it to the edge, make sure you leave a little bit of space because we are gonna cut it, and just twist it so that you'll have better hand control over the piping bag. Give the tip a snip, and you wanna make sure your cut is even. And you just wanna pipe a circle starting from the middle. Give the tops a light sprinkling with some Oreos, and you wanna let this set in the fridge for another hour or so. I just pull these out of the fridge after about an hour, and there you go. Crumbl cookies my way. They're bigger, they're sweeter, they're denser, they're just better.